Year 50 of the Common Era. Far across the Atlantic, a Roman official signs a decree, unaware that on the other side of the world, under a different sky, another kind of power is rising. On our classroom maps, that distant half of the globe is often a blank expanse labeled with a single word: America. But in the 1st century, while Rome debates, China records its dynasties, and Judea trembles, the lands we now call the Americas are already old with stories, cities, and sacred landscapes. Imagine that you could step out of the familiar timeline and wake up somewhere in the Western Hemisphere around the year 50. No borders, no names like United States or Mexico or Peru. Just a patchwork of peoples who do not know they live in America, and yet shape its future with every seed planted, every stone stacked. The sun rises over a broad valley in central Mexico. Smoke twists from hundreds of hearths. The air smells of maize, damp earth, and incense. Below, a straight avenue cuts across the land like a deliberate stroke drawn by a giant hand. On either side, plazas and platforms are already taking shape. Workers haul stones, priests burn offerings, traders carry woven baskets heavy with obsidian and salt. This place does not yet have the name later peoples will give it, but history will remember it as Teotihuacan, the place where gods are born. In the 1st century, it is still becoming itself, a gathering of villages congealing into a city. Families arrive from distant valleys, bringing their own dialects and customs, settling into crowded apartment compounds. The city's heart is a long avenue lined with temples and rising pyramids. Stand there in year 50, and you can feel the weight of something starting. A city that will one day rival the greatest in the world in size and influence. To a child born here, none of this feels extraordinary. The sound of drums in the plazas, the echoes of voices bouncing off stone facades, the regular beat of festivals tied to the path of the sun. This is just life. They do not know that centuries later, strangers will stumble on these ruins and wonder whether gods or giants built them. For them, the gods are not in the building alone, but in the work of every hand that carries a stone up the pyramid's slope. Travel southeast, across hills and jungled lowlands, and the world reshapes itself. The air grows heavy and wet, the forest thickens, and stone cities rise like islands above a sea of green. This is the Maya world in its late pre-classic era, long before the famous collapse, long before Europeans will ever hear the word Maya. Deep in what we now call northern Guatemala, a traveler approaches El Mirador. Its causeways, straight white roads of stone, stretch for kilometers through the forest, linking city to city like arteries. At the center, an immense pyramid known today as La Danta towers above the canopy. From its summit, the jungle looks endless, but the city is anything but isolated. Farmers around its edges carve fields from difficult soil, hauling mud from low-lying swamps to build terraces. In courtyards and temples, priests track dates in intricate calendars, watching the sky with a precision that rivals any astronomer in Rome. Here, time itself feels different. The Maya count days in cycles upon cycles, wheels of time turning within larger wheels. Year 50 is not just 50. It has a place in a vast pattern of sacred numbers. A child born in this city is given a name and destiny tied to the day sign of their birth. Their life is stitched to the movements of the sun, moon, and stars, and to the rising and falling fortunes of their city. Now swing north, high over the Gulf of Mexico and up into a land of rolling hills and dense forests, the eastern woodlands of North America. Morning mist clings to the treetops. The rivers below glint as they wind through the green. If you could soar above the trees, you would see shapes carved into the land itself: circles, squares, long embankments forming vast geometric enclosures. These are the monumental earthworks of the Hopewell tradition, stretching across what is now Ohio and beyond. They are not castles or fortresses. They are ceremonial landscapes, drawn at a scale the human eye cannot fully appreciate from the ground. On a day in the 1st century, people are gathering at one of these centers. Some have traveled for days along river routes, carrying bundles of goods, copper from the Great Lakes, obsidian from the far west, shells from warm southern coasts. They come wearing jewelry of carved stone and sheets of mica cut into sacred shapes. Fires are lit within the great circles. Rituals unfold, songs, dances, feasts, and offerings are placed into the earth. The villages these pilgrims come from may be small, but the network that binds them is enormous. Ideas, styles, and sacred objects flow from community to community, carried in canoes and in stories. To an outsider, this world might look like scattered settlements in a forest. To the people who live here, it is patterned and known, full of sacred paths and remembered places. Turn west now, across the grass of the Great Plains and into the broken mesas and canyons of the American Southwest. Here the land is dry and demanding. Rain is a blessing. Clouds are watched the way others watch royal messengers. In this landscape, small clusters of pit houses sit near precious patches of arable soil. In one of those houses, a family wakes before dawn. Their dwelling is half buried, a circle of earth and wood with a smoke hole above and a ladder leading down. Outside, a narrow field of maize struggles in uncertain soil. Maize is new here in the deep history of the region, having journeyed over centuries from its birthplace in southern Mexico, carried ear to ear, seed to seed, through countless hands. Alongside hunting and gathering, it is slowly reshaping life. People experiment with where and how to plant it, saving seeds from the hardiest ears, learning which fields drink enough runoff from the rare storms. They do not yet build the great stone pueblos that will later cling to cliffsides and anchor canyon floors. But they are already crafting the knowledge those later societies will rely on: how to coax food from arid land, how to read the sky for subtle signs of rain, how to time ceremonies to the changing seasons. Their story, like so many first-century stories, is one of patient adaptation. Leave the canyons, cross the Pacific coast, and then swing south until the green returns. The land narrows into the waste of Central America, then broadens again into the Andean world of South America. Here mountains rise like walls, their peaks cutting into the clouds, their slopes carved with terraces and paths. Far to the south, the coastal desert of what we now call Peru looks at first almost empty. Hardly any rain falls here. The land is a canvas of stone and sand. But along the rivers that cut down from the Andes to the sea, life flourishes in narrow green ribbons. And in the desert just beyond those valleys, something impossible is being drawn. A small group walks in single file across a rocky plain. One person tips water from a gourd to mark a line. Another scrapes away the dark surface stones with a simple tool, revealing paler earth beneath. From ground level, it seems like a trench, nothing more. But if you could look from above, you'd see it forming part of a vast design. A hummingbird, a monkey, a straight ray that points toward the horizon. These are the Nazca lines taking shape, immense geoglyphs that will haunt imaginations for millennia. Along the rivers, the Nazca people tend their fields, irrigating them with canals and clever underground aqueducts that tap hidden water. In their homes, they drink from painted vessels and wrap themselves in brightly colored textiles. Out in the desert, they inscribe prayers, paths, or cosmic maps into the skin of the earth. Beyond the valleys, the Andes rise into a stairway of climates. In one zone, maize grows. Higher up, potatoes and quinoa. Higher still, only hardy grasses and llamas and alpacas that carry loads and provide wool. People here do not gather everything they need in one place. They knit together different altitudes, exchanging goods and labor between communities spread up and down the slopes. Their world is not organized around a single giant city, but around networks of villages, shrines, and routes that cross ridges and cling to canyon walls. Keep moving east over the final crest of the Andes, and the world falls away into the basin of the Amazon. From above, the forest looks like an endless carpet of green. From the ground, it is a web of rivers, trees, and small clearings where human life is woven into the pulse of the rainforest. For a long time, many outsiders imagined that this forest hid only tiny, scattered bands of people. But clues in the soil and the land tell a different story. Patches of unusually dark, fertile earth, terra preta, show where people enriched poor tropical soil with charcoal, food scraps, and manure, turning it into gardens that could feed larger communities. Geometric earthworks, circles and squares cut into the ground, hint at planned spaces once kept open, now swallowed by returning forest. Imagine standing on a wooden platform in a stilt house above a blackwater river in the 1st century. The air hums with insects. Below, a canoe bumps softly against the posts. Gardens nearby grow manioc, maize, peppers, and fruit trees. Paths lead into the forest, not as a wilderness to be conquered, but as a vast, tended larder and pharmacy. Children learn the names of plants and the habits of fish and birds the way others learn the names of kings. Across this hemisphere, north to south, coast to coast, the 1st century is full of languages, kinship systems, rituals, songs, fears, hopes, full of people who do not know, and do not need to know, that their lives are part of a story that will one day be called the history of the Americas. They do not think of themselves as early or primitive or waiting for someone else to arrive and begin the real story. Their histories already stretch back countless generations. Their sacred sites are already ancient. Their fields grow crops that required centuries of careful breeding and selection. Their calendars track cycles that will still be recognizable when Europeans first write about them. The great twist is not that complex societies existed in the Americas in the 1st century. The great twist is that for so long, many people told the story of that century as if they did not. When we picture year 50, we might see Roman legions, Han officials, or crowded Mediterranean ports. It takes effort to also picture a Hopewell ceremony under a night sky, or a Nazca line etched under a relentless sun, or a Maya priest reading the heavens from the top of a pyramid, or a family in the Amazon quietly planting in dark, human-made soil. Yet all of these were happening at once. As night falls on our imagined day in year 50, the lights of Rome flicker far away. But so do the fires of Teotihuacan's builders, the hearths of El Mirador's families, the embers atop Hopewell mounds, the lamps of Nazca farmers, the coals of pit houses in the southwest, the glowing ash under pots in Amazonian stilt houses. Each flame belongs to someone living a life as real and immediate as any emperor or general. What was happening in the 1st century in America? People were building, believing, trading, planting, praying, arguing, laughing. They were aligning buildings to the sun and stars, shaping rivers and deserts, turning forests into gardens, carving their presence into earth that still remembers them. Their names may be lost to us, their voices may be silent, but their works and their descendants are still here. The question is not whether they were part of history. The question is whether we choose to see them when we tell it.